Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 100th episode of the Blacks in Technology Bit Tech Talk podcast. We have finally reached that epic milestone of 100 podcasts. This is a show where we talk to people of color who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. This podcast is where they share their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the Bit community. I'm your host, Greg Greenlee. And tonight, this is a special 100th episode. We have a two-parter where we're going to have three guests. Samara Lynn, tech editor for Black Enterprise. And then after her, we're going to have Brandy Foster and Kyle Ofori of Detroit's Decode. So if this is your first time listening, you can check us out the following URLs. We're at www.blacksandtechnology.net. Or you can check us out on the Twitters. We're at Black and Technology. That's BLKINTECHNOLLOGY. We're also on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Blacks and Technology. We also have a LinkedIn group. And if you're on the Twitter right now and you have any questions for our guests, tweet them using the hashtag BitTechTalk, BITTECHTALK. Blacks in Technology is a tech-focused community and media organization, and we're focused on increasing diversity in technology through increased visibility and participation of people of color in tech. We're always focused on forming new partnerships and opportunities to assist our members in their continued professional growth and development. So if you want to partner with us in any way, send us an email to contact@blacksandtechnology.net. Any general inquiries or inquiries related to sponsorships, also send those to contact@blacksandtechnology.net. A few announcements before we get to our first guest. Let's see. DevOps Day Chicago is going to be happening August 30th through the 31st. That's going to be happening at Summit West in downtown Chicago. We do have a couple of BIT members attending. If you are interested in attending DevOps Day Chicago, this is their annual DevOps Tech Conference, then there's a link on our site. Just do a search for DevOps Day Chicago and go on that. On that page, you'll see a link for a form to fill out. Just fill out that form and tell us why you're interested in attending DevOps Day Chicago. And once we get all of our entries in, then we'll announce the people who won the free passes to DevOps Day Chicago. Let's see, what else? Springboard Initiative, they're still looking for mentors. That is a organization that provides technical and leadership training to African American youth. They are out of the San Francisco Bay Area. If you are interested in volunteering and being a mentor, email them at info@springboardinitiative.com. Also, this Saturday is the Women in Linux Summit. It's an online conference running in real time with live instructors, speakers, and recruiters, providing an advanced collaborative environment for participants from all around the world. There's going to be sessions on AWS automation, data visualization, Puppet, security of containers, OpenStack, MongoDB. That's going on again this Saturday. What's next? I know what I want to do. I want to take a moment to kind of shout out. This is our 100th episode. We've been blessed to do 100 episodes with 100 great guests. Or actually 99 great guests. We're going to have our 100. But we've done 100 shows. We've had a great supporting community. We've had a lot of great guests on this show, and I just want to shout out some of the other shows that are also making a mark by providing visibility to people of color in technology. So I want to say a few names of shows that I've listened to and that I've been a part of as well. So I want to start off first with Kai Dupuis' Where Are Blacks in Technology. I don't know if he still does this show, but it's one of the first podcasts that I heard when I started Blacks in Technology, that was featuring people of color in technology, and Kai was is a very dynamic speaker. He's also not only is he a great speaker, but he's also a great technologist, a good friend of Blacks in Technology, and I just want to send a shout out to Kai Dupuy. Where for his Where Are Blacks in Technology show, BDPA Radio show. It's another great show that has a lot of interesting people of color in technology as guests. Cairo Queen Taste of Cairo. That's another show. HBCU to Startup. That's our friend Hidea. She has that going on. It's more of a Google Hangout, but it's great to see shows like that featuring people of color in tech. Revision Path, Maurice Cherry. That's Maurice Cherry's show. He features a lot of graphic designers, web designers, things of that nature on his show. Women in Linux podcast. They just actually started doing podcasts. I think they're on podcast number 4. Tamika Reed, Dion Parler are the hosts for that. Technocrats, Torrin Ellis, he's a Bit member and a friend of Bits, the Bit community. Code Newbie, that's another great podcast I listen to quite frequently. People of Color in Tech is a great organization. They have great articles featuring people of color in tech. Dev Color, they're a great organization. I had the founder, McKinday, on our show a few weeks ago. Who else? And then a number of different organizations, Women of Color Tech, Black Girls Code, Code 2040, Hidden Genius Project, New Me, Build Up VC, Black Tech Week, Black Enterprise. And I just want to say that I'm grateful to know a lot of these people, and that they're doing terrific work and extending the visibility that we always talk about for people of color in tech. So keep doing a great job, and definitely happy to be acquaintances. So we are going to introduce our first guest. She's been a guest on the podcast before. Samara Lynn is now the tech editor over at Black Enterprise. So I want to bring her on the show. What's going on, Samara? Hello? Did we lose Samara already? Okay. Hey, Samara, are you there? Hmm. Okay. She was just there a second ago. Now we've lost her. Let's see. I think I'm gonna let's give her a second. I wanna see what's going on. I wonder if she's having technical difficulties. I am going to email her real quick and see if she responds back. In the meantime, let's see. Who's going to be next week's, or not next week's, but in 2 weeks, we have another great podcast lined up. That's going to be episode 101. And oh, yeah, Cheryl Dorsey of The Plug. That should be a pretty good podcast. I don't know if you all have subscribed to The Plug. It's a newsletter right now. I don't know. We're going to get more into that once we have her on the show. But it's a newsletter that profiles people of color in tech, gives news and updates about the latest happenings regarding people of color in technology. We're going to have her on the show in a couple of weeks. Still waiting to hear back from Samara. Hopefully she jumps back on. I don't think hope it's not me. Let me hit her up on Twitter. She was there and now she's not there. Hopefully she comes back. Got a half hour with her. If not, we still have Brandy Foster and Kyle Ofori coming up at top of the hour, 9 o'clock. But I wanted to get Samara on the line because we wanted to talk about Black Enterprise's TechConneXt Summit that's going to be happening pretty soon. And we were going to detail, you know, TechConneXt. I'll give you a little information about TechConneXt Summit. It's a 2-day event filled with insightful tech talks, interactive technology workshops, and one-on-one sessions featuring some of the top minds in tech, such as Tristan Walker, founder of Walker & Company Brands, Emmy Archibong, Director of Global Product Partnerships of Facebook, Ty Ahmad Taylor, CEO of THX Limited, and others. So we're actually giving away 2 tickets to the Black Enterprise TechConneXt Summit. So if you are interested, and tell us how you're going to share your experience with the community. Let's see. She just emailed me back, and she is saying what? I think I think maybe, did I click off? I think I did. Okay, so this is my fault, I think. I think I clicked off of here, and this is not Samara Lynn's fault at all. I think somehow I lost connection. I don't know how that is, but let me get her back on. Let's see. Technical difficulties, the life in tech. Let's see if we can. This is weird. For some reason this doesn't want to call out. So, let's try this again.
Please enter your PIN to join this conference. This free conference call is provided by Uber Conference. Joining conference now.
Hey, Samara. Hello?
This is Kyle.
Hey, Kyle. Hey. Okay. Samara?
I'm here.
Hey, I think that was my fault. I don't know what happened.
I am so sorry. Look, yeah, it looks like we had a little technical mishap there.
Yeah. So we're getting started a little bit late, but we are back. Sorry about that, everybody. Anyone listening, we had some technical difficulties there. We are back, and Samara is back. So what we're going to do is we're gonna get into questions. So Samara, she is the tech editor for Black Enterprise magazine, and we definitely want to welcome her onto the show.
Yep.
So thanks a lot for joining us tonight, Samara.
Well, thank you, Greg. And I know we're starting late, but I would be remiss if I didn't say congratulations on your 100th podcast show. And I remember when you were kind of just first starting out, the growth has been phenomenal, and you're just doing such a great service. So congratulations.
I definitely appreciate it, and hopefully we can do 100 more. So let's get into it.
Yes, I hope so.
We're starting late, so I want to jump into questions and then want to get in, especially talking about the Black Enterprise TechConneXt Summit. So give us a little bit about your background, where you're from, how did you get involved in technology?
So I was originally, I always loved computers and all that stuff when I was a kid. And I originally was a network administrator. Actually, I was even going back. I was a computer science major at Stony Brook University,
Okay.
but really didn't have a feel or a passion for programming, which is essentially what all the courses were. I really wanted to play with wires, and I wanted to get more into networking. So instead, I dropped out of school, and I got my network certification from Microsoft. I learned about TCP/IP. I got that certification, and I did that for several years. I was very happy. I became an IT director. I started to freelance a bit writing because I always loved to write. I wrote for a Unix guru as a ghostwriter, and I said, hey, I would love to do this for a living. I had been in IT about 15, 16 years at that point. And I went back to school, got my degree in writing, and kind of just been a tech journalist ever since.
Excellent, excellent. And last time you were on our show, you were actually a writer for PC Mag. Tell everybody what you've been up to since then.
So, so the PC Magazine, I was there for 5 years, and now I am with Black Enterprise and covering technology again. And what I love about my opportunity here is that I'm covering a lot, a wide range of issues. I'm still doing reviews, consumer technology, business technology, but I'm also talking a lot more about, tech startups, and especially African-American startups, people of color doing fantastic things in STEM, and I get to write a lot about the diversity issues that remain in the technology industry. So I'm really enjoying it.
Excellent, excellent. So, and I want to let everyone know that because for a long time, I don't think Black Enterprise had a dedicated technology, department or editor for the magazine. And when I heard that you had landed there at Black Enterprise, I tell you, I was beaming from ear to ear, because not only was I glad to see Black Enterprise, getting into the tech side of things, but I was so happy that they got somebody that was, hardcore in the technology, and the fact, that I knew you. So I thought that was those are all pluses for me.
Thanks,
so congratulations on being there at Black Enterprise. So
thank you.
How'd you land there? Tell us the story behind that.
Well, there were a few tech editors before me. There's Pat Austin, who I worked with at PC Magazine, and I know Joel Lyons, and then Marcia Talbert Wade was covering tech. But you're right, there really wasn't a big focus on tech like there has been in the last couple of years. And I think what happened was the managers and the senior management, the publishers here, just decided, when you talk about black wealth and black economics and business, nowadays you also have to talk about tech, because everything is so driven by technology. So they decided they would, really bring someone in, who had the background in tech. And I guess my advantage was I, was in tech for so many years, in addition to being a journalist. And they also wanted to do a technology conference, and got the interview, ran my ideas past of what the direction we could go in, and it's just so opportune, because now there's so much talk about diversity in tech that this is a great time for Black Enterprise to really focus on the space. So
yeah, that's excellent.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And I don't know if you had already dropped off the call at the time, but I mentioned some organizations, as well as a number of different podcasts and radio shows that are featuring people of color in the technology field. And I love seeing that this culmination of, I kind of consider it like a revolution of kind of what's happening, this emergence and this visibility aspect of people of color in tech, and it's all starting to come together. And now we have conferences devoted to it. We have conferences like Black Tech Week. I know Wayne Sutton does a lot with tech inclusion in his conferences, and now Black Enterprise is jumping in this whole thing as well. So I'm loving what's happening and what's happening in this space now. So tell us, what are the plans for tech at Black Enterprise? What do you see coming next for them?
So what we're really focusing on, and it's really what you've been focused on and did a great job with the last 6 years or so, is really highlighting the African American tech CEOs, C-suite executives, tech entrepreneurs, executives who really aren't covered in mainstream tech publications.
Right.
And one of the things that I get a lot when I get pitches, and I'm starting to get a lot of, communication from, all these great, innovative African-American tech entrepreneurs, and they're saying, thank you for listening to me. It's, we can't even get our name out there.
Right.
And we just recently covered Rodney Williams, who's the CEO of Listener. I mean,
Yes.
this young man is so innovative. I'm sure you know him. His product is where he uses. You've definitely had him on the show.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look it was only until recently that mainstream magazines have started covering him. But
Yeah.
I mean, the next Rodney Williams is out there, and just we have so many people of color doing so many great things in tech, and that really is a direction. Is really just to, be a place where we keep highlighting that, throughout media, giving them the media exposure.
Definitely. And I've been preaching that for a number of years, and I, like I said,
Yes,
I'm so happy to see this all coming together, because I always say that if we don't do it ourselves, right, then we leave that up to someone else to do it for us, and they may not do it, or they may do it in a way that we don't too particularly care for. So it's great to see, organizations such as Black Enterprise, all these other great people that are highlighting people of color in tech, doing this, and using the internet as the which is the largest media outlet there is, using using the internet and using this forum to get the word out there. So kudos to Black Enterprise.
I totally agree with you, Greg.
So let's
Absolutely.
talk about the TechConneXt Summit. So tell us what it is and what the goal of the TechConneXt Summit is.
So this is super exciting. Black Enterprise has been around for 40 years, and one of its highlights has been the wonderful events that as a media company it's held. It's been the Women of Power Summit and Entrepreneur Summit. But recently, as of last year, we started hosting a technology summit, and it's called TechConneXt. And the goal is to really make our presence known in Silicon Valley. And what we do is we bring together some of the thought leaders, the African Americans who are really making impact, young entrepreneurs, students, and we all convene in Silicon Valley over a weekend. It's in October. It was in October last year. Will be this year. And really just network. We bring together investors. We have panels. We have sessions. We demo tech. And it's just wonderful. It's just to show the tech industry that we are here in Silicon Valley. There are plenty of us doing great things. And, we're claiming our stake in the tech industry as well.
Excellent. And I'm happy to say that the Blacks in Technology, we're a media sponsor, and we've partnered with Black Enterprise to be giving away a couple of free tickets to the Black Enterprise TechConneXt Summit. As I mentioned at the top of the podcast, if you're interested, any of you are interested, you want to share your experience, or tell us how you would share your experience if you were chosen for one of the free passes to the TechConneXt Summit. Just go to our site, blacksintechnology.net, and do a search for TechConneXt Summit, and then there should be a link there for a form that you can fill out, and just let us know, and we'll be announcing winners sometime pretty soon. Tell us when is the event? What's the date for that?
The event is October 10th through the 11th. It's in Burlingame, California, at the San Francisco Marriott Waterfront Hotel, and it's a 2-day event. It's just we have some phenomenal guests already lined up, and even if you don't win the tickets, it's a great value, really reasonably priced. We actually reduced the price this year to get more people, get to enable more people to come. And it's going to be a phenomenal event.
So tell us about some of the events that are taking place at the summit.
Sure. So we're going to have some one-on-one keynote sessions. We have confirmed Tristan Walker, who of course is the founder of Walker and Company Brands, and it's been a long time at his relatively young age, Silicon Valley insider. He worked with Foursquare and Twitter, and now he has his own company with Walker and Company. He's launched the bevel shaving system and is doing phenomenal. So he's going to be one of our keynote speakers. He's also going to be an award nominee, an awardee. We're giving out some awards to some people who've done some really outstanding work in the field of technology. We have Ime Archibong, who's confirmed. He is the Director of Global Product Partnerships at Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ryan Leslie. He's the hip-hop star and the legendary producer. He's also a tech entrepreneur. He has a company, his company Mozart. It's a messaging system, a very sophisticated messaging platform system that he uses to connect with his fans, and he's giving other people the opportunity to use his platform. And I say it's very sophisticated because it also uses some really high-level data analytics, some CRM, and he's just really on point with tech. And actually, he reached out to me today. He's going to start incorporating bots and artificial intelligence into his platform. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. And we're going to have a hackathon. We're having an innovation lab where we're going to have sponsors showcase the best of their technology. But we're also going to have young black tech entrepreneurs come in also and share space and show what they're working on, showing what they're trying to bring to market or what they've just brought to market. It's really going to be great. And we're going to have pitch labs sponsored by Microsoft, learning labs. It's just really the place to be if you are a person of color in technology.
That sounds excellent. Sounds like a
Yeah.
fabulous lineup. How can more people find out?
Yeah.
How can people get more information about the TechConneXt Summit?
Sure. So if you go to blackenterprise.com/events/TechConneXt, TechConneXt, it'll tell you, the agenda and the speakers we have so far confirmed. There's a lot more to come. And every week we do coverage leading up to TechConneXt. We do our Tech Innovator of the Week and our Road to TechConneXt. So if you go to blackenterprise.com, just check out our digital magazine. You'll see a lot of coverage about the event as well.
Excellent. Samara, I definitely want to thank you again for joining us on our this milestone. This
it's always a pleasure, Greg.
Episode. And good luck with the conference. And once again, tell us before you leave. Tell us again when that conference is taking place.
That's October 10th through the 11th, and that's going to be at the San Francisco Marriott Waterfront Hotel. So hope to see a lot of your audience there. A lot whom I know from online. So it'll be such a blast. It's going to be wonderful.
And how can people follow? How can people follow Black Enterprise, the TechConneXt Summit, if there's anything on social media for it? And how can they follow you if they want to?
So we can just follow at Black Enterprise on Twitter. We also have a Facebook page, and you will see daily updates about TechConneXt. And of course, I'm providing them as well on Twitter at Samara Lynn, all one word. And that's where you'll get the latest information about the event.
Thanks a lot, Samara. You heard it from Samara Lynn, tech editor at Black Enterprise. We wish you the best of luck in the future, and good luck with the summit.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take care.
Excellent. I'm glad we got our technical difficulties worked out. I think that was partly my fault, but we are back on track, and I'm going to introduce our next guest, Brandy Foster, and Kyle. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right, Ofori. If not, he'll chide me here in a second.
It's Ofori.
Ofori, there he is. Sorry. So Cal is a or he was a mobile developer at Detroit Labs from September 2014 to July 2016. His primary platform is Android, and he has since explored iOS and web development languages. He's a graduate of the Detroit Labs apprenticeship program. And Brandy, she graduated the program in 2015. She is also an Android developer at Detroit Labs. She started her journey into the controlled, chaotic world of app development through their apprenticeship program in 2014. So we want to welcome Kyle and Brandy to the show.
How you doing?
I'm doing
Thank
pretty
you
well.
for
Having us.
I'm glad you all could join us tonight. So, let's jump right into to questions here. We'll start off with Brandy. Give us a little bit about your background, where you're from, your education, and how'd you get into tech.
Well, I am a Detroit born and raised. Detroit versus everybody. That's it's in my blood.
Okay.
I am also a student of the DPS, which is now Detroit Community Schools, but I've had like some college education, mostly focused towards education degree, which I have not attained as of yet.
Okay.
I got into tech. Pretty much it was like a random thing. I was like, I was looking for an app in the Google Play Store. I couldn't find it. I'm sure it was there because there's an app for everything. But I was like, I'm going to create an app. And so I just started researching how you make an Android app and then taking classes online that would lead me toward that goal. And in doing so, I had a friend who's like, there's this company called Detroit Labs that has this apprenticeship for Android, and I think you'd be perfect. And I was like, probably not, but I'll try it. And I happened to get in. So that's like the small version of the journey.
So how long ago was that that you actually started coding?
I started taking classes on my own in 2014.
Wow.
And it extended it a little into 2015. Yeah, it was just like the free online courses you can find through like Coursera and Udacity.
Right.
I started with Android, but I didn't speak Java, so I was like, okay, wait, I don't know what you're saying. So then I had to stop that class, go find a class that offered Java, and then I got into that class, and then I switched back into the Android class, and then I ended up with the apprenticeship. So it was about a close to a year's journey from the decision to pursue it as a career to getting the apprenticeship.
Excellent. Any regrets on getting into it? How are you liking it so far?
Oh, I absolutely love it. It's the most fulfilling career I've had to date,
Nice.
and job even that I've had to date. I've had a couple, so I mean, I absolutely love it. I have no regrets other than not doing it sooner. Right, that's the regret.
Right. So, what about you, Kyle?
All right, well, I'll start with my background. I'm originally from a town called Worcester, Ohio, but I have lived in Detroit for about the past 3 years.
Okay.
I was educated at Princeton. That's where I was for university, but I actually didn't study anything directly related to tech. I was an economics major and a Chinese minor.
Yeah. We're going to actually get into that because I found that very interesting.
Oh yeah, it's been a very indirect path, but we'll go into that more later. It sounds like for now, I can say that I stumbled into tech while I was on the job search in summer of 2014. I actually got on Reddit for probably the only few hours I've spent on Reddit before, and I found out about the apprenticeship about 4 hours before it closed. But I really liked the application, so because it's set up in an interesting way and it asks unique questions. So I decided to fill it out, and then I started learning more and more about tech as a result of that and got more into coding as I got the apprenticeship.
Interesting, very interesting. And we're going to we're actually going to delve a little bit deeper into that here in a second. But I want to ask you, Brandy. You in your bio, you describe yourself as a Black Cinderella and an ex gamer. So explain that. Explain why you describe yourself as a Black Cinderella, and then explain why you're an ex gamer as opposed to being just a gamer.
So I have the Black Cinderella story. You know, like she's cleaning, she's dusting, no one really pays attention to her, and then all of a sudden the fairy godmother comes along and changes her life. And so I had a pretty decent job. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a decent job. I was an office manager in a home health care agency, and it was okay. I had some potential for growth in my career path, but I would have had to dedicate myself to medical, and I didn't want to do that. But so here I am dusting things, you know, running the office, and I get this, you know, fairy godmother who's like, hey, you have the chance to completely change your life. Bippity boppity boo. And I went ahead and I got in the carriage and I took the chance and I did so. I always tell people, like, I'm not a unicorn. Like, there's nothing really special about me or my story or what I did or how I got here. Because there's not. But I was given access and opportunity, which is not, it's not available to everyone. And I do want to recognize that in calling myself a Black Cinderella, that I was given access and opportunity to pursue my passion, and I really appreciate it. And an ex-gamer, because I love video games. I still have the 360. I haven't upgraded to the one yet. But I'm like a first-person shooter kind of girl. I love Halo, Gears of War, like those kinds of games. Nice. But I do, like, find myself playing a whole lot less. Like, as my kids play the game more, I play the game less. I still can probably whoop all of them. And I'm very proud of that. That, like, if you give me a battle rifle on Halo, like, I'm still going to have the best kills. But I don't play as much as I used to. Life and other things have come up. So I'm kind of an ex-gamer. I've kind of retired. Pretty soon, my 13-year-old's going to beat me. But as of right now, I still have the reigning title in the house.
You know, it's funny because I was never a gamer. Like, I never got into, at least not console games. Well, I shouldn't say that. Atari, and then that was it. Like, maybe a little Nintendo, but after, like, they started getting more than, like, 2 buttons, I was done. I'm more of the old school, you know, large, those large type of games, whatever. The joy, if it has a joystick, I like it. If it doesn't have a joystick and it's just buttons, and then I'm no good at any of that stuff.
I remember getting my first Atari. Well, not mine. I didn't own it, but like the first Atari in the house, and then we had a Nintendo. And I played that into like destruction. I had almost every game you can think of, like swapping them out. I've been playing games literally since Atari, so yeah, wow. It's part of who I am.
Right, and I think the reason why, so my brother, my older brother, he's older by 11 months. He used to have he had this friend, and in high school, they used to skip high school and play Nintendo. Nintendo had this game at the time called Baseball Stars. And it was like one of the first games that you could get on Nintendo that allowed you to play and earn winnings and then use those winnings to build your team up. Well, they used to skip school and play that thing religiously. And when I say religiously, I'm not just talking about they used to play it every day, all day. They used to actually, and since it was a sports game, they used to actually keep notebooks of stats. Every batter, ERAs of every pitcher on the team, and it was sort of like this fantasy baseball thing that they had going, and they had stacks and stacks of notebooks, and I thought it was the most insane thing ever and the biggest waste of time to sit there. Now, not to play the game. I can see that. I can see people really getting kind of hooked on playing the game and everything like that. But to the extent that they took it to keep these meticulous stats, I thought it was either genius or it was insanity, and I thought it was insanity. But they played this thing day and night. I'm surprised he ever he ever finished school, but he did. But yeah, I think that's kind of what turned me off because I didn't want to see myself, I guess, getting into that pattern of, every day I wake up, I have to go and play this video game and keep these stats. So I never really got into those games. Oh well. So, so Kyle, you have a very interesting. Go ahead.
Oh, nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. You have a very interesting background. We already touched on it a little bit. So you have a degree in economics. You studied Chinese culture and language, and you wound up in tech. So, explain that whole dynamic. What made you decide that tech was the path for you? And then tell us do you utilize any of those other skills to help you along in tech?
Well, I can't say that I initially saw a connection.
Okay.
To be honest, since college, I don't think I've done anything that has directly used either my economics major or my Chinese background professionally. But as I went through the interviews at Detroit Labs and then the apprenticeship program, I did get to see some connections between my experiences, like how the things that I was doing at the time were reinforced by things I'd done previously. I would say, so right before I was in my apprenticeship program and then working at Detroit Labs, I was teaching, and
okay.
The skills I developed in that year actually came in really useful because during the apprenticeship interviews, we needed to communicate the work that we were doing. We would get this new project in front of us that we needed to figure out how to put together. It was pretty small, just a coding sample that we had to write or decipher, but it was nice to be working in groups because I was able to explain, okay, this is what I'm thinking. I had a lot of practice explaining how processes were supposed to work as a teacher. And it came in useful at the job, too, because I needed to explain in English the code that I wanted to write or what my reasoning was behind using certain patterns and things like that. I would say that my language experience was helpful in that front, too, because I was excited to learn about new ways to do similar or familiar things, which I'd gotten some of from studying Chinese. It was really cool to learn how certain expressions, like maybe translated directly into English, might not make too much sense, but you could see how it works. And yeah, I think econ's probably the farthest away from anything that I've worked with directly, but it got me started on giving thorough and systematic explanations, and that certainly came in helpful when Brandy and I started with Decode, because we needed to be able to explain to the students not just one way of thinking about a coding language, for example, but also a second way and a third way for the students to learn better, hearing it differently or seeing it, things like that.
Got you. So, I mean, what drove you? I guess a good way of putting this is kind of what attracted you to technology, that you put aside, I shouldn't say put aside, but you didn't go into economics. So what made you decide that, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. This is what this is the career path that I want to follow.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, it was a very good option at the time, because at the time I was between teaching and nothing. So I needed to find a job, and I had always thought back to when my mom had told me about, computer programming. This seems like a useful skill to have as you move into the future. One of your uncles works in coding and technology. You should really give this a try. And years prior, I thought, it's not so useful. I'll do something else. I'm more interested in education. But when the opportunity came to learn about tech, I had all those things in the back of my mind. And I decided, look, I don't know what exactly is going to happen next, but I know I want to stay around Detroit, so this opportunity is here. It's a skill that no one's going to be able to take away from me. I might as well go for it and see where it takes me.
Got you. So
Hope that
Brandy,
clarifies a little bit.
yeah, definitely. It's a little different than I guess what some of the guests that I've had on here and what I'm used to hearing as far as career paths in tech. But any career path that you take that gets you into tech is great for me. So yeah. So Brandy.
I think so too.
So tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
what Detroit Labs is. I know we mentioned it quite a few times, and we haven't really gotten around to explaining what Detroit Labs is. So tell us what it is.
Okay, I wish I had my cheat sheet. I don't.
Okay.
Detroit Labs is primarily a mobile applications company. So what we do is we create primarily mobile applications for clients. We do other kinds of applications, so some web. That's actually what Detroit Labs started with. They moved into mobile, so we still dabble there occasionally. I don't know how else to put it. It's
I think you got it.
okay. So it's like a family reunion of people. Like, so when you talk about the culture, it's like a family reunion of people, all different kinds of people from various backgrounds that all have this common bond, which is technology. Primarily, like I said, we do mobile, but there's also web. Some people have switched from web to mobile or from mobile over to web because a client comes up or it's something that they're interested in. They do, like, a lot of their focus is on learning and education and teaching. So the apprenticeship program is one avenue that we have as far as bringing in people who really don't have experience or the degrees in technology and training them to do mobile or web, because we had a JavaScript class development. But there's also, inside of the company, there's constant avenues for growth and development and opportunities to learn a new language or learn a new platform or learn new business skills. If you're even interested, you can shout out our business team. So while we do technology, I will say, like, one of the things that I love about Detroit Labs is the focus is the people who are a part of Detroit Labs, the people who make up Detroit Labs, and their continued growth and development. And so it's kind of more of a company that's just kind of like we're riding the wave of whatever is the next big thing, and we're going to do that thing. And so we get the staff just completely energized and interested in always reaching that next level.
That's pretty interesting. This is I'm guessing this is a for-profit company, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That would, they're a for-profit company, and yet they have this apprenticeship program that is, on the side, that's actually training people with little to no experience in development and bringing them into the fold in order for them to be, employees at Detroit Labs. I found that an interesting dynamic. I don't think I've heard of many companies or if any that actually do that. Usually they want you to come in and already hit the ground running, and things like that. But this one, they actually have kind of like a 0 to whatever, a total beginner who's never coded a day in their life, and they're training them, and then they're employing them. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I could be misspeaking. I apologize if I am. Any elaborate, please correct me. I'm going to call out Nathan Hughes on this one, who's one of the co-founders. And he believes and has invested in the belief that you don't have to have necessarily a degree. But beyond that, like, what makes a great developer is a person who's really passionate about development, who's really passionate about programming, who's really passionate about learning more than anything. And his thing is, you could take anyone who has this passion, give them the tools that they need in order to learn, and they would be extremely successful. And with this idea in his head, and I think at that time they needed a couple, I think the first one was iOS, so they needed a couple iOS developers. So he's like, let's do this. I think it will work. And it worked out so well that they ended up doing the Android class, which I was a part of, me and Kyle. And then they just have continued on since then because that has been wildly successful. Because the truth is, if you have a person who does have a passion and you guide them towards success, it's not hand-holding. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. But if you guide them, if you give them a path and you guide them towards succeeding in their passion, like the sky becomes the limit. They can literally do anything if they feel like they're supported. So due to the wild success of it is like one of the reasons that Detroit Labs continues to invest in people, because that's really what they invest in, the people that work there.
Excellent. I think it's phenomenal that you have this business that is investing in the social good, and what their mission is to, or I shouldn't say mission, but they're telling people, that, hey, you don't have to have this CS degree in order to come and be a successful coder. I think that's a message that is a very important message, because that kind of breaks down that barrier to entry, especially for inner city kids who think that, hey, I have to be a math whiz, or I have to have some type of high level degree in order to get into technology. And here Detroit Labs, here they are, and they're saying, no, you don't. We have this apprenticeship program. You can come and train with us, and next thing you know, you're going to be working with us as well. So I think that's a great precedent that they're setting there. So, hey, Kyle, tell us a little bit about the apprenticeship program. What was involved in the apprenticeship program? How did you go about getting accepted, and some of the things that you, a little bit about the curriculum of it.
Okay, so Brandy gave us a pretty good insight into where it came from. I think that motivation was stressed really well during our interviews. So it started out with a written application where we went through the same get-to-know-you form. They call it a GTKY. Filling out information about it's a good alternative to a resume, because it asks, I think, more interesting questions. It's sort of like an in-person interview, but you also get into some personal information about your motivation for studying or for applying, and other interesting things you do, so that the folks at Detroit Labs can get a better idea of you as a person. For us, I think there were multiple rounds of, the first one was just in-person interviews, so talking with the folks at Labs, and then going into more tech-style interviews. But they started as group projects where, like I was saying earlier, they stressed not only your ability to think through the problem, but your ability to communicate about it with your team members, because it was sort of like co-opetition. Like the you have to be able to cooperate while you're trying to do your best to prove that Detroit Labs is the place that you really want to be, and to show it the folks at Labs that they would want you. And the process sort of continued like that, though the interviews became more and more individual. Sorry, not the interviews, rather the specific tasks that you had to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the happy day comes when you're accepted, the apprenticeship program began. It started with a classroom portion taught by the lovely Erica Carlson and Rob Fort, and they would guide us through about 3 or 4 hours in the morning with just textbook things that we needed to know about Java, because we were doing Java and then we went into Android later on. So the classroom portion started out with a lot more just lecturing, but there was obviously plenty of time for questions, and Erica would go back and forth between, here's a new bit of information, and why don't you try putting it into a program? So we had plenty of opportunities to work through the material that we were learning. And after about the first month, we got into Android, which Brandy was saying that there's a good amount of hand-holding at the beginning, and there definitely was, but when we got into Android, she sort of set us free to learn and try and fail and try again. So she gave us a bunch of resources to read and some videos to watch that turned out to not be the greatest, but I think they changed those eventually, actually. And we basically became more like closer to real developers, because while we were doing this self-study of Android, we were also going through specific tasks that we had to hit. Things that were useful for anyone who's in the tech world, and not just development-specific tasks, also shadowing people who are working elsewhere in Detroit Labs, because they wanted to give us a pretty well-rounded idea of what it was like to work at Detroit Labs. And so the tasks that we had to go through, the one-on-one conversations that we had with Erica and also with Rob, so I guess they weren't one-on-one, and then the support that we had from our fellow apprentices all allowed us. I think there was only one person who didn't complete it, and I guess I won't go into the specific circumstances because I don't know what they are, but it was a very supportive program, and most of us got through within the 4 months that were allotted.
Okay, so it was a 4-month apprenticeship program?
Yes, and after that, it was full-time at Detroit Labs.
So what was the, I guess, determining factor around whether or not you got hired there? Was there a criteria?
I would say it was those specific criteria. Again, we had a lot of support getting there, so I don't think anyone could really have not known that they were on track, which was good.
Gotcha.
But it was those criteria.
Interesting. And Brandy, what type of work were you initially involved in once you became employed at Detroit Labs? And then, what type of work are you doing now that you have experience under your belt?
So funny story. Very funny. It's funny now. It wasn't funny then. The apprenticeship program, I think, Kyle, to correct you, it's like 3 months. It's technically 3 months. You have a capstone project at the end. Everything leads up to that. They get feedback from everyone you ever work with, everyone you talk to, everyone in the company about how you're doing. And then your capstone happens. And then whether or not your capstone meets the criteria of a completed app, as well as how you function with the team, all that comes into play. So I did my capstone at the end of month 3, and I didn't pass, actually. I got some really good feedback, though. I had to take another 30 days, so I took 4 months, Kyle took 3. And finished, I had to completely redo my capstone project in order to to be given a position. So when I did it, it was reviewed again. The code was a lot better, thank God. And I was given a position. So when we first finished, when Kyle finished, I think he got right on DTE, yes, we'll go with it. I think it's on the website, right, Kyle?
I think it is. If not, utility company. Utility company.
There's a utility company, and
Okay.
Kyle got right on that team. And I had, again, like the extra 30 days. And when I finished, there was no project ready, like, for me to join. So I ended up on an in-house project, which was actually kind of cool because I ended up working with the other apprentices who also had to take a little bit longer. And we created this in-house app. We were able to continue to work as a team. It gave me additional time for growth and development. And then I was put on we're working with an automotive company. So I was put on that team probably 3 or 4 months, two months after finishing the apprenticeship, and I'm still on that team. As far as growth and development, coming off as an apprentice and becoming a junior, initially you're still an apprentice. People don't call you an apprentice, but you still are, because there is everything, like, you don't know anything. Like, you know things, but you know nothing. You're Jon Snow. And so for a good minute, I was just Jon Snow. I spent a lot of time shadowing the more senior developers that were on the team, doing a lot of pairing, asking a lot of questions, just kind of like making sure I was in the room as much as possible. What are we talking about? And even if I don't understand, I'm going to be in the room and just ask a lot of questions. Now I have officially, I don't know if Kyle got the news, I don't think I sent it to him, I've officially been informed that I'm no longer a junior apprentice. I've been promoted to a junior developer. I'm just a developer now. So,
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank
I should have had.
you. It's so exciting.
I wish I would have known. I would have had clapping cued.
Oh, I found out from the time I sent the bio until now. Like, I just found out in this interim. So, I mean, to that aspect, I've grown to the point where I can take a lot of stories on my own. I work with senior developers more so. Like, I might have a question, I need to get some help. But a lot of my work is a little more independent, or a little more guided. Even if I'm pairing, I'm driving, which feels great to have that level of confidence in knowing what you're doing. A large aspect I've discovered of being part of a development team isn't actually the code. Like, writing the code, you can really teach anyone to do it. You can teach anyone to write code, but being a part of a team takes another set of skills, and that is active listening, that is knowing how to power share, knowing when to speak up, when to be quiet, what questions to ask, what questions that have already been answered, so you just need to go check your notes. Knowing how to be supportive and knowing how to give critical feedback. Like, all of those other aspects, I feel like are the ones I really have succeeded in. I'm still working on my skills as a developer. I will never be finished. But I applaud myself on being a team player now, because the first feedback I ever got in the apprenticeship was that no one ever wanted to work with me. So, given that was the first set of feedback I got from my first team in the apprenticeship to now, where my team says I'm an MVP,
Nice.
I applaud myself on that avenue of growth and development. Yeah.
I found the applause sound effect, by the way, and you might not hear it, but I hear it. And I
appreciate it all the same.
I just applauded that last statement there. Very nice, and I'm glad that you're part of the Blacks in Technology community and the Slack group. I know you've been in there, engaging with people and things like that, and so I'm hoping that people are engaging with you as well and answering questions that you may have and things like that, because that's what the community is all about, and hopefully you stick.
I love it.
Excellent. So let's switch gears to talk about Decode. And so I'll start with you, Kyle. Tell us what Decode is, and why it was founded.
All right. I'm going to tell my version of things. Historically, I found that Brandy has a different perspective on what happened, but here's how it was.
Okay.
Decode is a program to introduce students to coding and to the tech industry in general. We both founded it after noticing, well, if I can back up a little bit. When we got into our junior developer roles at Detroit Labs, we, along with some other folks at Labs, were interested in sort of letting more people in Detroit and the surrounding areas know who we were and what we did. And we wanted those to be folks who didn't have much knowledge of the tech industry or who weren't in the circles in general. And the first way we decided to do that was by visiting schools. So we visited a couple of high schools and one middle school in Detroit, and I think one in Trenton. Yeah, and we just talked to students about what we did and how we got into the job, not just as developers, but all the different roles that were available at Detroit Labs. And in Detroit specifically, we found, well, the students all over the place were interested in what we did, but we found that giving them internet resources, like the websites that they could visit if they wanted to start coding on their own, or the articles and books that they could read, didn't seem like enough. I know that for a lot of us in the apprenticeship program, people had started doing development on their own, but it's not always enough to launch you into a career. And we felt like just telling the students about Detroit Labs and giving them some links wasn't going to get them through to really being able to pursue their interest in tech, especially since most of the students we were visiting in Detroit were low-income students of color, and they may not have had the resources to get into the tech world, whether that's because they lacked internet access at home or because they just didn't have the personal connections. Like I mentioned earlier that I had an uncle who worked as a developer, so I could at least find out what that was about if I wanted to. Many of the students that we visited probably could not have done so. So we wanted to start an after-school program that would give students the opportunity to learn about coding and learn about the tech industry by our being there and sharing some of the skills and knowledge that we had.
Excellent.
Brandy, what's your take?
Yeah.
So over the course of time, as many times we've been asked this question, Kyle has changed his answer.
Oh, I have? Okay.
Yes, so a little more mirror my own. Because I always say, like, okay, so we founded it, it was Kyle's baby. So when we finished the apprenticeship, the first thing I said is, I want to go visit Detroit schools to talk about, what we're doing. I think it will be really motivational. Who's interested? Kyle said he was interested. So the second we had the opportunity, me and Kyle and some other Detroit Labbers, like, we organized a group to go talk to some schools. Kyle came back and he was like, well, it's not enough. And I want to do this program. And I was like, okay, fuck it, let's do it. Excuse my language, I'm so sorry. But I was like, okay, let's do it.
We have a mature audience here.
Thank you. I've been working real hard on my language. So it was his brainchild. I might have added to, like, let's do JavaScript over Java. I think that might have been my suggestion, but it was literally his idea. And I just I stepped up to support it. I don't know. It was his baby. I'm happy to be a co-parent.
Okay.
I find it extremely interesting that and the reason I find it this interesting, but I'll tell you first. I find it interesting because you two are relatively new to technology and coding, And here you are, only a few years into the technology industry, and you're already giving back. And I've come across people who have been in technology for years, and they haven't done that. And not that they're obligated to, but it's just refreshing to see, especially when we talk about diversity in technology and the underrepresentation of people of color in technology. It's just I guess it's a breath of fresh air to see people that are passionate enough about technology that they want to even give back and see others succeed in the industry. So, I mean, kudos to both of you for doing that and doing that so early on, because a lot of times you find that people are just trying to get their footing in technology. They don't even feel like they're up to par enough to begin teaching others, let alone taking on the task of teaching, younger people. So, I mean, I think that's a testament of who you are and your character and your passion towards technology.
So funny. Um, I'm sure we'll go into it further, but we decided to teach JavaScript, and neither Kyle nor I knew JavaScript. Like, when we decided to do
It's
it,
even better.
we had no idea what it was. Like, I had took some classes, so I had like a really basic understanding of JavaScript, but we were literally teaching ourselves like what Java's like, how to do JavaScript as we were teaching the students.
Yeah.
Because we were like, we're gonna do this
JavaScript had been the 4 or 5 days that I was on, I can't remember what website. I think it was Code Academy, learning JavaScript before I found out, probably on Wikipedia, that JavaScript is not the same thing as Java, which is what I was supposed to be learning. And, yeah. That was my first introduction to it. But it was nice to be able to learn while teaching, or learn a little bit before teaching, because it got us in the right frame of mind for understanding what are the questions that people are going to have, how should we tackle this when we're explaining it.
Interesting. And you all you spoke at the Self Conference. This was Blacks in Technology's second year being sponsors and attending the Self Conference in Detroit. I think I met Brandy. I met you last year, didn't I, Brandy? There at Self, yeah. And then I met Kyle this year. But I went to their talk where they actually spoke about Decode and some of the ups and downs of putting the curriculum or putting the program together like Decode. So I don't think I caught that during your talk, that you were actually learning the code that you were teaching kind of at the same time. It's pretty interesting. So, Kyle, tell us what's the curriculum like? We know that it was that you taught JavaScript, but tell us, was it project based, and how did you go about teaching, setting up the program and teaching JavaScript?
Well, the first thing we wanted it to be was to be practical. We knew that given that we didn't have too much experience coding, we wanted to be able to leave them with something that they could, leave the students with something that they could all move forward with, rather than just a very loose introduction that they wouldn't know how to continue with. And so we built it as a sort of front-end web development course. We started out with HTML so that they could have the practice building the content in the website. Then we moved on to CSS so they could do design, and then JavaScript to animate some of those things or to improve the presentation. It was project-based because as we taught a language, we would have a project that centered around the language. And so that was spaced out at about one large project a month. But we also wanted to follow the Detroit Labs apprenticeship strategy of having to be a hands-on course. So rather than just lecturing the students for an hour and then having them fiddle with something for the last few minutes, we wanted to break it up and present a little bit of information and then give them a chance to have their hands on the keyboard and make something for themselves and then repeat. Oh, and we also wanted to introduce them to the tech industry in general, which is more than just the specific skills you have to code. So we wanted to work in interviews, having people who worked in different parts of the tech industry, like another company or who served different roles, come in and speak. And we also had the students visit Detroit Lab so that they could see the office space, see the way that people work together, meet with people who did like business and design and quality assurance. Also give them a real picture of what at least one part of the tech industry can look like, aside from, what's on TV.
Excellent. And Brandy, how long did it take for you all to come up with the curriculum, and kind of what was that process like?
So curriculum development was, again, it was a team thing. We started with an end goal. We knew we wanted the students to create a text adventure game by the time they finished. And we kind of just worked backwards from there. Like, so what skills do they need in order to build this text adventure game? And not initially. So throughout it all, Kyle was more of the day-to-dayer, like creating the lesson plans for the day, and I was more of the like big picture, kind of trying to map it all together one, and we just kind of broke off that way.
Yep.
Got you. And so
I'm going to add that we had...
Go ahead.
Sorry, just to jump in, we did have some help from other folks at Detroit Labs who did have experience with JavaScript. So even though they weren't in the process all the way through the course, and though they weren't teaching, they gave us a lot of good advice on how to approach certain topics. So shout out to Jake and Tim.
And Toby and the JavaScript apprentices.
And everybody.
Apologies, because the JavaScript apprentices really did come through for a lot of it. We started with like PowerPoint as far as our slides, and someone was like, what's the name of it, Kyle? I'm going to forget.
Reveal.
He's going to forget.
Reveal.js.
Reveal.js. He was like, use this. This is the best thing ever. It was the best thing ever. And that did come from the JavaScript team. Reveal.js.
Okay.
It's a way to use JavaScript to make slides. So you actually code them up in JavaScript, and then it presents it for you. I think for our self-confidence presentation, we actually used Reveal.js. And it was good practice because we needed to learn how to use JavaScript better. What better way than to make our slides by using JavaScript.
Nice.
Indeed.
So tell us what and I'll start with you, Brandy. What was your biggest challenge as an instructor?
I'm very disorganized. So it's the same challenge I have as a parent as I do as an instructor. I'm very disorganized. I have all the ideas in my head, but I'm also very forgetful. So I'll forget things and then remember on the fly, which Kyle, I love him because he would go with me. I'm like, oh, wait, we're going to do this instead. Like, just kind of change everything in mid-flow because I will have forgotten something. So that was, really my hardest struggle is just trying to be a little more organized because the students need you to be organized as an instructor. You can't just walk in class and not know what you're going to do.
Right.
And keeping up with, the assignments and making sure that things were not just educational, but also interesting to make sure like what you're doing, what the students were doing was interesting enough to kind of keep their attention.
Right.
That, and I have a problem with attitude with teenagers. So I had to like, you ain't my kid, so I'm just going to send you to the teacher kind of thing. Like, you ain't mine, but smack your lips at me again. So, like, having to check all that, all that natural, just like, what'd you say? It was a learning process for me also, though. Like, I learned a lot about myself.
What was the age group for the students?
They were 9th through 12th grade, so we had a couple freshmen and a couple seniors. Most of them were between 10th and 11th grade, though.
Yeah.
What about you, Kyle? What was one of your biggest challenges?
My biggest challenge was probably figuring out how to make the material that's accessible to the students. As Brandy was saying that I was the day-to-day person, that's because I spent a lot of time thinking, okay, here's this concept. How are we going to get it into slides? Because it has to be in slides, otherwise what are we going to have them look at? And then during that, too, also figuring out what the best way to present the material on those slides and in my teaching was. I knew that if I reverted to my default way of doing things, I would just type out a lot of information on the slides because I wanted to make sure that I said everything that had to be said. Yeah. And I would tend too much towards the lecture a lot, give them very little time to actually do anything. So I had to keep myself in check a lot. But Brandy helped me a lot by reminding me how important that was and how it was what we wanted to do with this course. And it became easier as the students throughout the semester described the kinds of things that they wanted to see or do in order to help them better understand. Like they wanted, I think Brandy came up with the 5 minutes of struggle, which is give them a little bit of time after you've explained the topic to just let them figure it out themselves. Like present on a topic and then say, now do this task. And they've got Google at their fingertips and all the things they need to do to convert the material that's on the slides and in their heads into something that's on their webpage.
Nice. And how long did it take you all from conception of Decode to fruition? How long? I mean, because it sounds like you guys got started pretty quick and kind of brought it to fruition pretty quick. What was that timeline like?
We started planning in, I think, September. In the fall, things ramped up as we had more meetings with the school and were hammering out what the curriculum would look like. Mm-hmm. And our first day was in early mid-February.
Wow.
And it ran from February to June 9th.
So was this an after school or a weekend?
After school. 2 days a week, about 2 hours per course.
It's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. So let me ask you this: what out of all the projects? So let me ask you: was this? Were the students kind of given the same project to work on, or was it kind of, they kind of chose their own thing that they wanted to build, and then they proceeded to build it?
You want to take that one, Brandy?
Yeah. So the first 2 large assignments were very open. The smaller assignments that we did day to day, we had like something you did every single day was very focused. Make a header, make a banner, make the text screen. It was all very focused. But the larger projects was more like meet this criteria. It might have been have a certain font or have so many images or have a button or whatever it was we asked you to do. And after that, we kind of just let the students have creative freedom with it, with what they wanted to display on their web pages.
Mm-hmm.
The last project was a little more focused in that it had to be a text adventure game, and it had to be PG. But after that, it was very much what the students decided to do with their own kind of creative genius, which was absolutely beautiful to see.
And Brandy, continuing with that, what was kind of the most impressive project, one that you've seen and you were like literally like blown away that they built?
So we had a student. I don't know if I can use student's name, so I won't.
Okay.
We had a student who created a sliding header, and so like as you scroll down on the screen, the header comes down. You go down so far, then the header comes up, and the bottom comes up to meet it. It's very cool. And I looked at it, and I was like, I have no idea how you did any of that. Like, I don't understand how you made that work. But it was really cool. And he actually did it all in HTML. There was no JavaScript involved.
Wow.
But he did it in HTML, and it was very, very cool. Like, he had an image underneath it that like would start to hide as the header goes down or the bottom goes up. It was extremely cool. To this day, I have no idea how he did it. I have the code, so I could steal it, but I don't understand.
We'll figure it out.
How he did it, yeah.
Nice. What about you, Kyle? Was that the same one, or what was something?
That's actually the same project I was going to suggest.
Okay.
I will say, it's a really neat feeling to know that you kind of sparked the fire that goes on in students' minds when they figure out they want to do something and go ahead and do it. Because I, too, don't know much about how exactly he executed that one. But that happened a couple of times. Also with one student who, I think she was really into using particular background.
Mm-hmm.
So
Beyonce.
she had to go out and figure out, okay, how do I want to get this Beyonce background kind of centered here, or not doing the tile thing that smaller images tend to do when you set them as backgrounds. And she would always be organized and moving forward with all that.
So, and that leads to this next question. I mean, you said that that you like seeing that that you were able to light that spark of creativity from the kids. So, and I'll start with you, Kyle, on this. Tell me why teaching kids to code? Tell me why that's important to you.
It was important to me because I knew that they had the talent. Even though I didn't know specifically who the kids we would be teaching were before February, I knew that there are kids out here in Detroit who have lots of talent and who are dedicated and will put all their effort into learning something. Not all of them are getting the opportunity.
Right.
I know your previous caller, Samara, was talking about the digital divide. That's definitely prevalent in Detroit, and I wanted to be able to have a role in reducing that so that if our students decided they wanted to go into tech, they would be able to do it right there in Detroit, and they wouldn't have to go far and wide to find people to teach them or to get any insight about the industry. I wanted them to have some of the same opportunities as I had access to growing up.
Right.
That's why it's important to me.
Well, what about you, Brandy?
Well, I'm a mom, so I have kids who are in school, and I'm in schools all the time, and so I see the good and the bad and everything in between as a parent. And I knew I had the ability, like Kyle said, to provide access and opportunities, something that I think is vitally important. Technology really is the future, and so are our children. And so to see from in my perspective, a subset of children who are disconnected from that future because they don't have access and opportunity to technology, I felt it was beholden on me as someone who has the knowledge to share it, right? Like, what good is it if I get 50 million apps in the store and I don't have any? But even if I did 50 million apps or millions of dollars, if I didn't leave the legacy of helping someone else achieve their goals.
Right.
And while I hope to help my children achieve theirs, like, I have the ability to do way more than that. And it felt like I had to, because I had it. So, like, what else are you going to do with it?
Right. And you know, that's refreshing to hear. And me and Samara, we were talking about this as well. And just seeing programs like this, it's someone explained, or they kind of explained it to me, like this is like another civil rights movement, right? You see these different programs, these different organizations, such as Decode. I think there's Sisters Code that comes out of Detroit as well. I spoke with the founder of that organization when I was up there. But you see this culmination of all these different programs happening across the nation, and you know, like I said, it's very refreshing to see and be a part of as well, because this is ushering in a new generation of tech savvy, not just tech savvy, but these kids are being introduced to the industry in a way that, you know, that we weren't, and much earlier than we were as well. And so seeing that is just, I mean, I always tell people this is our crusade, or this is my crusade, in providing this visibility, providing the community, and doing these types of things so that our kids have a better chance of succeeding in this industry than, you know, say I did, and at a much earlier time than I did. I got into tech actually late, and um, and and now we're hopefully we're doing these things that are going to hopefully level the playing field, right? You know, ushering in new engineers, new programmers, new developers, and giving them a better chance and a better shot at this tech economy than we had. So I definitely applaud both of you for what you're doing with Decode, um, and, you know, wish you continued success. Uh, Before we get out of here, how can people get involved with Decode, Brandy?
Well, if there are any educators or administrators, school administrators, or just parents who are interested in Decode, you can contact me directly at Brandy, Brandy Foster at DetroitLabs.com. That's DetroitLabs.com. Or hit me up on Twitter at BCWF. Let me know that you're interested, and I will, you know, see what I can do to work something out. At this time, because I'm sure everyone wants to know, we don't have any sites planned for the upcoming school year. So if you are an administrator or a teacher or a parent, like, your school could be the school. I'm going to very much miss Kyle, who is going to pursue his education. I wish him all the best of luck. I do plan to do Decode again. As soon as I find a site, I'm ready to go.
Okay. So what's next for you, Kyle? We just heard that you're going to be pursuing your education. Tell us what you're going to be doing next.
All right. Well, I'm starting grad school in about a week and a half here. So I've moved out to the Boston area. I'll be at Harvard for public policy and urban planning dual degree. So you may notice another sort of switch in direction, but again, I see a connection throughout. I want to be able to bring opportunities to people where they are, and I really came to love urban environments while I was living in Detroit, and to see the role that good policy can play in changing the way that sort of people's fates end up playing out over the generations, especially in poor communities and communities of color.
Right.
So that's what I'll be doing. I hope to keep my development skills somewhat fresh throughout. So we'll see what happens over 3 years. And
well, they may come in handy. Maybe you'll
ears to the
disrupt.
ground about decode.
Got you. They may come in handy. Maybe you'll disrupt, the policy industry somehow, and do something great with that. So and definitely good luck with that. It's great to see that you're definitely pursuing higher education. So we wish you much success in the future.
Thank you.
What about you, Brandy? What's next for you? Hello? Did we lose Brandy?
Uh-oh.
I think we lost her.
Oh,
There she is.
nope, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
I was talking and I had it muted and I did that thing. Next is to just continue status quo. Again, as soon as I can find a site, hopefully by second semester of the 2016-2017 school year, I'll have another site for Decode. In the meantime, I am hoping to do some one-day boot camps at a couple different schools throughout Detroit, or even public libraries. I'm talking to some of the more businessy people at my office about how to make that happen, how to get the word out that I am definitely dedicated to teaching our youth in Detroit about development and programming. And just continuing on my team, continuing to grow. Right now I'm taking some courses in Scala. I'm working to learn C, continuing my Android development. So just trying to be, the best developer, best mom, best self I can be. I'm not going to get my doctorate anytime soon. I love Kyle. Absolutely love Kyle.
Neither am I right now.
That's it. You know what, Kyle? He's going to be doing. You know what? That we need him in that position, pushing public policy for a change, right? It's one thing to embark on these endeavors to want to teach kids and things like that, but it's another thing to change policy at a higher level that's going to affect a wide range of people in an area or wherever. So kudos to Kyle for once again switching and doing something great. So that's excellent. That's excellent. And so
I'm saucy because he won't be teaching.
Got you. Brandy gave out her Twitter handle. How can people, if they want to follow you, Kyle, how can they get in contact with you, or how can they follow you on Twitter?
Well, on Twitter, my handle is just my name, at Kyle Ofori, KYLEOFORI. But I feel like for more specific questions, the best way might be my email, because I need to improve my Twitter game. It's a week right now. But my email is KD, as in Derek, which isn't actually my middle name, .P, as in Paul, black.ofori, my last name, @gmail.com. So both ways to get in touch.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining me on this epic milestone, our 100th podcast. Definitely had a lot of fun speaking with you both and hearing about Decode, hearing about your journey to become developers. And I wish both of you much success. And Brandy, when you get another site, definitely let Blacks in Technology know. We'll be happy to help promote it, help tweet it out, throw something up on the site about it. So just let us know. Keep us in tune.
Thank you. I sure will. I appreciate not only the show, like the blog posts that you do. I appreciate the Slack room. Like, I'm not in there every single day, but every time I go into the room, it's awesome. So, all the effort and energy and work you put in, I just want to let you know it is greatly, greatly appreciated.
Thank you for putting it all together, yeah.
Thank you. Well, you two take care, and I hope to hear from both of you pretty soon.
Yes.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
And that's it for this episode of the Blacks in Technology Bit Tech Talk podcast. I definitely want to thank our guest, Samara Lynn, tech editor at Black Enterprise. I want to thank Kyle and Brandy for joining us tonight and letting us know about Decode. Join us in a couple of weeks. We're going to have Cheryl Dorsey from The Plug on the show. And I want to thank all of our supporters and our audience for tuning in for our 100th episode and for supporting us throughout this journey. Hopefully we have 100 more episodes and we continue to highlight and feature people of color in tech and doing some amazing things for the community. Until then, that's it for us. Remember, tech yourself before you wreck yourself. Take care and have a good night.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.